Good evening. Welcome. My name is Kimberly Blackrincan. I'm the director here at the Ignite Hub. Welcome to fall 2024. This is our first session that we have of our guest speaker series for 24-25 school year. And as always, we kick it off with our Fireside Chat Career Series. Thank you to Verizon, who is a sponsor of our guest speaker series. And yes, they have renewed our commitment to us. So we are very excited about that. And hopefully soon I'll be able to tell you a little bit more. We'll have some other offerings sponsored by Verizon soon. So welcome again. My name is Kimberly Blackrincan. You are here at the Fireside Chat Career Series. Welcome to our guests that are here in person. I hope that you enjoyed our meal sponsored by Verizon, and our online guests. Welcome to our space. I hope that we will see you in person in the future. Tonight's guest is Colin Frazier, and the topic is Cannabis Entrepreneurship, a returning citizen's journey toward advocacy. So it's an amazing story. I do want to make a little plug for the Montgomery County Black Collective. They have partnered with us in this space, and we have found some amazing guest speakers for the fall season who will be speaking here as well. So Colin is a graduate of the Amber program and here with us. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Colin and then hand it over so he can tell us his amazing story. Colin Frazier is a pioneering cannabis entrepreneur who has made significant contributions to the industry. With a passion for cannabis advocacy and a deep understanding of the plant's medicinal properties, Colin has played a vital role in shaping the legal cannabis landscape by testifying in Maryland for Black and Brown cannabis entrepreneurs to have equality in the legacy market and holding the first cannabis roundtable with now Governor Wes Moore. Colin holds a steadfast determination and a passion for social justice. As a returning citizen who had to overcome significant challenges, he saw the potential of cannabis to uplift communities and create economic opportunities for individuals who have been affected by harsh drug policies. In 2021, at the height of the pandemic, Colin founded Upling LLC, the first Black-owned MBE cannabis delivery app in the United States and Jamaica. Through his company, he's been able to create jobs and offer training programs for individuals impacted by the criminal justice system, seeking a fresh start in the cannabis industry. Recognizing the power of collaboration, Colin has formed partnerships with organizations that share his vision. He works closely with nonprofits focused on reentry programs, helping individuals with criminal records gain the necessary skills and support to thrive in the cannabis industry. In his journey as a returning citizen, Colin has become an inspiration to many, proving that personal setbacks can be transformed into opportunities for growth and meaningful impact. His dedication to social justice, advocacy, and empowering others serves as a testament to the transformative powers of the cannabis industry and the potential it holds for creating a more equitable society. Wow, this is an amazing guest speaker that we're honored to have in the hub. Colin, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I just want to say thanks to Verizon, Ignite Hub, Kim Jones, the whole team here for having us here in this space. One thing about when you talk about cannabis, a lot of people don't bring the correlation into tech or other certain things. So we're definitely honored to be a guest here and for you all to hear our story about how we're helping the lives of returning citizens and those who need this medicinal plant to carry on. So the way like our mission is through convenience that we saw throughout the community and the culture of the plant itself, and then two, just the dynamics of Maryland, how it's been changing. So I'm going to talk about that, and then we're going to go forward on to just the story on how we got there and how tech plays into it. So 2008, I was shot 8 times. I got shot in my arm. As you can see, I shot once in my arm here. It came out the other side. It shattered the radius bone here. I got shot in the face here. It shattered my eye socket. I got shot through my face on the left hand side, came out the right hand side, shattered my jaw. twice in the abdomen, in the back of the head, and then again in the back of the arm. This is in one sitting. Uh, so of course I was on the illegal side of cannabis for over a decade, and it made wrong choices and ended up being shot. After I got shot, I got incarcerated. After I got incarcerated, I spent some time in incarceration there. Right, it opened up my eyes to how blessed I was to actually be alive. Right, let alone then to be in that jail cell. When in DC jail, when you look, there's like a little small window. It's off of D Street. And when you look through that window, it's just cemetery. It's just a cemetery behind the jail. So as far as you can see, it's cemetery. So it was a reminder that God kept me alive for a purpose. And that's what kept me going. That no matter whatever happened to me, whatever charge, I was just going to thank God for being alive, and that it was mandatory for me to go back behind the walls to be able to help those who didn't have the opportunity. So we did after I got released. I did prison ministry for about 8 years. Did Clarksburg. Shout out to Harvest Intercontinental. We did prison ministry with them in Clarksburg. We did Jessup and we did Baltimore. So that was just an awesome, awesome opportunity for me to actually go back behind the walls where I once was and talk to the men and women about changing the mindset, especially war on drugs, what cannabis does, but just being able to shed light on on just what we can do to help uplift the community. So that was a little bit of my past on what happening and then transitioning over to why Upling was started. So here you see a picture of my mother, 2021. She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. Um, and she's actually in the hospital. She's been in the hospital past week and this week, battling cancer and the chemo. So one thing that I saw was that after her chemo treatment, they would then say, well, here's a list of medications. You could go forth and get the medications or what have you. And just the struggle for her to get to and fro, whether it be the pharmacy to get her medication. And it was a struggle. And I'm like, man, I wonder like how many other cancer patients or disabled persons will be able to have the ability after going to chemo. It shuts you down for like 2, 3 days to go get your medication and then come back home. Number one, it's dangerous. And then number two, it's just a lot of wear and tear after a person goes through chemo. So we looked at, there was a problem, and we looked at convenience on what if there is something that we could offer people who are going through, illnesses, PTSD, what have you, to get medication to them without having to go into the store. One, we had to go through education. Now, a little bit of background about my mother: bona fide Christian woman, grew up in the church, thought cannabis was the devil's lettuce, right? So they didn't want anything to do about it. Not only that, but then the stigma on cannabis, right? So from what she saw, it was just destruction because her son nearly died over it. The police, the jails, the visits, the money that goes out, just the danger behind it. So she didn't want anything to do about cannabis. And so the re-education, not only with my mother, but many others who grew up in that era where the war on drugs was just deemed as just something bad. And to let her, as others, know that this is a medicinal plant, this is a healing plant. Once you start to understand this cannabis plant, is that there's a lot of healing attributes of it without little side effects, or the side effects are pretty good. When you go through chemo, it takes away like your taste buds, the ability to eat. And with this, she gained back her appetite, and just wanting to eat more and feel more balanced. So I went ahead with educating her on that. But then I'm like, man, we need to educate the community. So we educated ourselves, number one, on just how can we get this out to the masses, not only through maybe like a delivery mechanism or what have you, but then educating a group or a community that needs this the most: senior living care facilities, um, veteran play homes where old veterans come in and they're struggling through PTSD, where they're going through cannabis treatment already. And so this is where Upling was born. So Upling is a made up name. You're not going to find it anywhere else. We came up with this name from dispensary to your doorstep. So we want to bring the same experience you would have from dispensary coming into your door. So we created a whole POS system behind it where dispensaries could actually go through and see the point of sale system and see who's ordering, what time they're ordering, how often they're ordering, and it will dispatch a driver out to actually come and pick up the cannabis and drop it off to their doorstep. So we built this in about maybe 4 months in the midst of COVID, just because we didn't know how long COVID was going to last, right? My background is in computer engineering and programming. I'm a network guy. So I love making machines talk to one another. Coding, I hate it. It was tedious. But in this case, when you have the mission behind it and the story behind it, like, man, this is going to help my mother and many others who don't have access to medication at their feet, we can make this possible with like a DoorDash or an Instacart model where you'll be able to go on the app, it geolocates exactly where you are, and you're able to pick from whatever dispensary that's closest to you. So if you have a particular product that you like that's not around the corner, you have the option to pick another one that's maybe in a different county from you and deliver it to you. Now, we were one of the first delivery services in Maryland and the first delivery app to actually be functioning and working in both app stores. So not only it took the coding behind it, but then a lot of the education, as we talked about before, with the laws and regulations, it makes sure that we were compliant with what the state wanted. But then we had to work this into the code. So even though we were following a model where DoorDash is actually one of the most successful delivery apps, over Uber Eats and Instacart and all others, we tried to mimic it and make sure that it fell in line with the compliances, that we had a manifest on who was ordering, um, the regulations as far as how much they're ordering, and as far as putting it into a metric. So metrics is a system within Maryland that tracks from seed to sale. So as the seed goes into the dirt, Maryland tracks it. And there's so much tech that goes into cannabis. People fail to realize that. And the thing about it, what happens in this ecosystem in cannabis, in Canatech, is that they're working with models that work for another industry, like say farming or other industries, and then they try to tweak it to what a dispensary or a cannabis entrepreneur would need versus building something specifically to the needs of the cannabis market. And so that's one thing we leveraged, and we took that where the model works as soon as somebody goes onto the app, like I said, it geolocates, you get to pick for the dispensaries that are closer to you, then it goes into the actual store. So whatever's on the shelves or online, you have the ability to find it here. And you'll be able to purchase the item through this app, right? So there's no cash transactions whatsoever. Some dispensaries do that, but one of our biggest things that we looked at too was the safety of our drivers. We have a separate drivers app as well too, where we're able to, as soon as the order comes through, the dispensary would actually go ahead and check it okay for confirm the order for the signal. We have a push notification that goes out to all the drivers within a set radius we have. And then the driver would see it on their phone, pick up the order, and be able to drive to whatever dispensary that is, grab the product, um, confirm it, and then all pick it up and then drop it off to the patron's house. And there's no cash transaction there. We check for ID and we give them the product that they have that they ordered, and we'll hand it to them. So we also added a tip mechanism in there too, where people have the ability to tip their drivers when they finish paying. And the crazy thing was when we did our research, Uber Eats, DoorDash pay out maybe $2 to $4 per delivery. And I was like, whoa, that's like super low. And we pay anywhere upwards of 17 to $80 per delivery somebody would get. And this is including tip, right? So then this is how we incentivize our drivers. Because of course, one of the things is like, well, how can you assure that your product gets from point A to point B and that your drivers don't run off with it, right? I don't think there's any model in the world that has that. We've seen some with Amazon where they put the package down, take a picture of the package, and they pick the package up and put it back in their pocket. So if Amazon being now the company hasn't figured it out, I think we're pretty close. And so we incentivize them by capturing the tips, and we pay out at least probably 80% of the delivery charges the driver gets. So when we come to prioritizing, our drivers prioritize our app versus one of the food delivery just because we pay out. So it makes sense for them to continue driving with us and not, um, drive for anybody else. And so the reason why we have this model is we just looked at the market. So let's look at the market from since July, right? Where Maryland now is $1 billion cannabis market today. They went recreation last year, July. From July to the end of the year, they were averaging about $90 million in recreation sales a month. So with that, the demand on the recreation cannabis use was going up, which is then putting a strain on how do we figure out how to get our product to the customers? Because a few things were happening that we saw were the problems, and we continued to work on those problems and did a 2.0 of the app, where what was happening is that more people were coming into the store. The places that house the people, the stores that come into, had to move away furniture because they needed more people to actually get in the dispensary. So now this would discourage disabled people who now don't have a waiting area to wait for cannabis. This would discourage vets who suffer from PTSD because now they're sharing the space with 3 times the amount of people. So they didn't want to go into the dispensary. And so it's just been trending up where we had, let's talk about Maryland specifically, or even in Montgomery County, shout out to Montgomery County, is that we always had a lot of cannabis users, but a lot of them were recreation and didn't get the medical portion of it. So the difference between recreation and medical is where you would have to go to a doctor's office, get a prescription saying you have glaucoma or PTSD, and they'll issue a medical card where you could go in and get cannabis. Now, July 2023, they allowed recreation patients. So all you need is a ID 21 ages of older to be able to go in and purchase cannabis. So then now the the cannabis industry now is being overwhelmed with people coming in. And with this now, tech started to come up more, because how do we be able to know who's buying from us, when they're buying from us? So you have to hire more people now. And one of the things when you're hiring new people in the industry is that more problems occur. So your register ends up short because this is a cash business. Credit card companies really don't like cannabis flowing through there. So it's a lot of cash coming through the door. And it's hard to account when you scan it. You may have something for $30 and you punch in, they call them bud tenders with the cashier. You go punch in $25 and then they pocket the $5. So then there's new technology. Sonlink is one where they have cameras set up that actually captures the motion when you put in the price, and it checks when you scan it. It knows how much this is, how much was supposed to go in the register, and they could go and figure out who was a person on that machine, how much money they were supposed to get, etc. There's some technology that scans the area and it could tell you where the most traffic is. If people are standing by this one place where they like these particular flower or this pre-rolls, or they're standing there, and they could say, okay, well, let's put this product now because people are physically moving to that place. So the cameras are actually capturing that. So I mean, when it comes to tech, if you're a dispensary or a cannabis owner are looking to get into this space, And if you don't have tech embedded in your shop or retail or whatever, you're gonna lose. I can promise you that. If tech is not involved, you're gonna lose because there's just a lot of things to be accountable for. And with this, our biggest mission is helping our returning citizens. As I came from incarceration and found out there was a lot of men and women behind bars who were involved in cannabis. Now there's a new market that opened up where we could have the ability to hire them. You got to think about this. So Westmore just pardoned 175,000 people who had cannabis charges. So then now that's 175,000 people who could now eligible to come back in the workforce. And why not come into a workforce where they were locked up with? So Uplink, that's one of our primary goals, is where we go and seek out returning citizens through Georgetown Pivot Program. It's a 9-month program where they actually, after inmates come out of incarceration, they're in the cohort for about 9 months, learning about business. Ride is a program that's embedded in Morgan State University, where they teach entrepreneurship through that. We had our roundtable with Westmore to let him know about new opportunities for Black and Brown entrepreneurs that are coming up. And we need the ability to get into this market because it was so closed off. As we were working with Georgetown Pivot Program, I was working with fellas who were extremely scared of tech. Because imagine, you've been incarcerated for about 10, 12 years. Technology has changed drastically from last week to this week, right? Let alone 10 years. So you came out using a phone that flipped to a phone that has a total screen on it and is the size of your hand. So with them relearning some of the skills for everyday usage brings a lot of anxiety. And coming into the market where you want to be a cannabis entrepreneur, you're thinking, well, I'm going to get behind a desk or have a store and start selling weed legally. Where the first step, it starts with tech, quite honestly, because to be able to calculate your numbers and to be able to automate a system to gain revenue. And so we're teaching, returning citizens that, and having them the ability to actually work for us gave them an opportunity to not actually have to touch the plant and learn more about it versus standing on a street corner and selling it or what have you. Where we had them doing simple stuff with our app, with doing data entry. We had some doing coding. We had some just looking at basic stats and trends that the app keeps up to predict what are the next things that people are buying, what new technologies are coming down the line or what have you. So this gave them an opportunity to kind of look to see where tech is headed. And we had them at a barrier entry level. When you look at some other technologies or places that teach tech, sometimes you have to know somewhat of a form of tech on what's going on before you could actually get into the class. And in here, I think we were that gap where even if you have basic Excel skills, it was relatable to tech with using the software that we were using, our point of sale system that we have there. Another thing that we try to let especially returning citizens know that there's so many different options, because if you're not able to get a license, don't count yourself out, because at the end of the day, everybody's not going to get a license to be able to sell cannabis or what have you. And here are some of the examples, things that we looked at with being able to distinguish ourselves, that we could still move and be in the tech space. So technically, we're a SaaS company. And with that, we created NFTs, right? Tokens. So we actually have a physically printed souvenir box that's like a one of a kind item you could physically have. And after that's sold out, it's a $47 NFT that people purchase. One thing people don't like to talk about, or they talk about it very loosely, is security, right? You got to imagine almost every dispensary, especially in Maryland, has some type of e-commerce or some type of website where their information is hosted on. Always say your website is a resume to your business. You need to protect it. And I don't think a lot of dispensaries spend time in the security portion of it, making sure that their SSL is tight, making sure that different protocols that go back and forth. Remember, we're taking in people's medical information. And so you have to be able to secure that data. Zero trust. I don't think zero trust is like one of the highest tier of security. And I don't think dispensaries even know what a zero trust is, quite honestly, right? And then as far as protecting your IP, is something that they don't think about. So I encourage my socially impacted injustice men and women to get involved in tech to be able to secure systems in a big market. And some people say, well, they must be doing a pretty good job because they haven't been hacked or what have you. And I don't think, quite honestly, cannabis is on the hackers' radar right now with healthcare systems giving them $22 million for ransom. But when they look at a cannabis market, especially in Maryland, is $1 billion market. There are some vulnerabilities that we need to catch up on and start training those to be able to say, hey, let me secure your industry. Also, marketing. Marketing is very, very huge in cannabis, SEOing and looking at the different trends and what have you, because it's very strict as far as what you can market, how you could say things, what you could say. Google has policies, Instagram has policies, Facebook has policies. So to be able to navigate through that, we're looking at AI right now to build in our 3.0 version to be able to avert some of this, where they're looking at the trends and these things are not even considering that they know the policies from back to front to know how to be able to market. So when you educate yourself on things like this, especially in the tech realm, you're able to safeguard cannabis businesses and you don't have to touch the plant whatsoever. And, in cannabis space, in cannabis tech, it's brought us into a lot of spaces that we thought that we never would have been in, and just educating. So just last year, we won DC Startup Week. DC Startup Week is a very heavily tech conference. It's coming up this October 21st to the 25th. And for this year, as the first year, they're doing a cannabis track, meaning that we're actually talking about cannabis for a day. And we have like the state of cannabis, we have compliance and policy, we have an investor tracking it, we have a marketing sub tracking it, that we're actually talking about cannabis in the tech space. And they've been around for 9 years. Cannabis been legal in Maryland since 2016, and this is one of the first of their kind. We work with a company, Techly. Techly noticed us for DMV's top 10 tech startups for this year. We had an opportunity in Philadelphia and a couple other states, excuse me, to do a writing class. So what we did is we actually wrote letters of encouragement to those who are locked up behind the walls. We got a chance to go to Jamaica and do the same thing where we touch base with people who are coming out of incarceration, dealing with cannabis charges, and teaching them, cultivation skills and how to learn this on the tech side. So Canada Tech has really opened up the doors, number one, just to educate the community on just where this is headed. I think, like I said before, if you don't have technology in your cannabis business, you're going to lose. And here's an opportunity for people to get on board and learn new tech skills to be able to get in and help these cannabis industries. Like I said before, don't think that if you were out of the license and you're not able to get a license or even afford a license, that you could actually come back and have a business supporting the tech industry. And with in this here, I live by. So this is Live Your Creed is by Langston Hughes. And this is a picture of me and Westmore. We were able to meet for our round table. It says, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather one walk with me than to show the way. The eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are very clear. And the very best of teachers are the ones who live their creed. For to see good put into action is what everyone needs. I can soon learn to do it if you let me see it done. I can watch your hand in motion, but your tongue too fast may run. And the lecture you deliver may be very fine and true, but I'd rather get my lesson by observing what you do. For I may understand, or may understand you, the fine advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding on how you act and how you live. So this is one thing that's we live on our mission where, April Second Chance Month, and we go out and we recruit people to actually work for Uplink because we really want to be able to help those and actually teach them about the new techs and the trends that are coming out within cannabis. One new thing that we're doing is we're running an AI that's coming out soon, a 3.0, that's really going to be able to anticipate the needs of individuals. So you'll be able to describe your mood within the app. We'll be able to predict different strands and brands that you guys could use to be able to help with you so you don't have to um, smoke it. You could eat a gummy that could accomplish anxiety from a long day. You could do a topical that you could rub on your knee for knee pain or what have you. So we want to make sure that we do that. Follow us on all our socials. If you want to try us out, go ahead and download our app. We do have the ability to go on there as a guest and try it out and see how it is because you do have to upload your ID or your medical card to be able to make a purchase. That's Uplink. My name is Colin Fraser. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin. That was a very inspiring story. And I appreciate how much you talk about how important tech is in this industry that's growing. And I will make a little plug here that Montgomery College is also in the future going to be offering courses specifically on cannabis entrepreneurship here that's in aligned with the state as well. So the curriculum is being worked on, and it will be something that will be offered here at Montgomery College as well for everyone. So on that note, any questions for Colin? Yes.
Yeah. Um, so you have a computer science degree, right?
Computer engineering.
Yeah. So did you get that before you were incarcerated or after?
Before. Yeah.
Before,
So it was funny. I was just talking to somebody what was your correlation to building this and how did you get tied up into it? I'll tell you this. If you ask, like, we also have a CBD vending machine company too. And the guys who work with me, we said, did you guys ever used to play with Legos when you were younger? And we drew the correlation. A lot of people who were in coding and networking, we love Legos. You love Legos?
Of course.
Yeah, so that was one correlation we love to build. It went from building Legos to building computers to building networks into cloud.
Okay, the name Uplink. Is there a story behind that? How you come
Yeah,
up
so
with that?
story uplink, I like that. So when we did our research and we researched the names, you have like Uber, they were like one word, two syllables that we looked at. So you want to get something one word, two syllables, but then how he did the particular font, you can see like the broken lines in it. And this represents the broken system, the judicial system that's not put together. And we want to be the catalyst to do that. The icon is like a pin drop with the cannabis sign in it. So this represents the broken system that we're here to support.
So how much does it cost for license?
Sure. So, believe it or not, the delivery license was the cheapest license out of all the licenses. This license cost me $100 every 2 years for this license, to hold the license. This license gives me the ability to do transportation in all of Maryland for recreation patients. There was a recent round where this license was $1,000, but you could only deliver within a particular county and you could do recreation. We also have a license in DC, at DC as well too, which is called internet retail. That costs us $2,000. So this license in DC allows us to have an actual facility, and we could have our product in there, and our drivers would come and pick up from that location and distribute. So think about us in DC as the Amazon hub. And in Maryland, we're DoorDash or Uber Eats, but then we also operate in New Mexico, New York, New Jersey, and Jamaica. So we license the app out to license holders, and they'll use the platform to run the delivery.
I have some more, but I will ask later.
Oh, okay. It's not for the general public.
No, let others, ask. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you think of yourself more as a tech company or as a product company?
More so tech, because we don't have a product really. Our product is the tech. It's the services, the software. Yeah. When we did our research in the beginning, one of the biggest competitors is called Maps. When you look at that model, it's a directory of all the dispensaries and deliveries all over. And when talking to them, the way they make their money is they're just showcasing your product, and they do delivery as well too. So I think like the minimum price is like $350 just to have an icon on a map telling thousands of the users. And now this company generates about $47 million a quarter. So they're doing about $10,000 to $15,000 in marketing and SEO a month. And they've been in the game since 2012. So they have the name and they have the people to be able to push it.
Follow on. Do you think it's your success is due to the timing, the legislative changes, the technology rise?
That's a good question. So definitely the timing, but we have COVID to think about. Thank for that. Just because you gotta imagine nobody was able to go into the stores and get anything, right? And you had a lot of people suffering in silence and suffering at home. My mother and other cancer patients as one of them, where the stores, you couldn't even go into the store to access your medication. So when you think about it like that, having means to access certain things that you couldn't, and you just never know when that's gonna happen again. So we just hit a timing, and that's why we built this app within like 4 months, testing everything. To build an application like this, it would take you like almost a year just to test it, the bugs. But we were super ambitious, and we were just working sleepless nights to make sure and get this code right, look through the SOWs. Then we had to look on the policy side to make sure we were compliant with that as well too. And the tech and the policy had to match together. And the good thing about that, when you're in an emerging market and it's new and you're developing the tech, then now you become the subject matter expert to the state, because we were doing things that the state didn't think about as far as just safety in the tech. One of the biggest things was, on DoorDash and Uber, you can see exactly where your driver is at any given time. I don't want anybody tracking my driver, to go and rob them or something worse. So in this case, in the POS, we had it where we could see where our drivers are. We could see the route that they're going to take, but it's not out to the public. But they get a push notification when it's been picked up, when it's on the way, and when it's coming. So it was timing was just really perfect when it came to people weren't able to leave their homes and were able to get their medication from the dispensary to them.
And maybe one, I'm sorry.
Colin, I'd like to thank you for coming out and sharing your story. It is very valuable. But as your CEO and owner of this entrepreneurship, how many employees do you have? How has it grown in the period that you've been the CEO? I'd like to start there. Like, how many employees do you have?
So employees, we have a lot of 1099s or drivers. So right now we have 4 employees. I have a team, and they're contractors as well too. My coders is a team of 4, including myself, and that's where a lot of the work holds up. And then 2, I have my CFO, my marketer, but then a lot of it are my drivers. And I have returning citizens that drive for me as well too. They drive for me who doesn't have a license. What we're trying to figure out in DC if they can use the scooters. to be able to do delivery because we have to make sure it's secure. But as far as drivers, we have almost 30 drivers. And it's such a blessing to be able to provide jobs for those who have a record that wouldn't give them the ability to drive or even to work. And then as far as like how we've grown, man, it was hard for us being, well, me being the face. So our clients are technically the dispensaries. So, we'll walk into a dispensary and say, hey, you guys should use us, what have you. And I've had managers or dispensary owners who are like, no way, you didn't build this app. There's no way you built it. Just because the market didn't have us black and brown people included in it. There were 3 black owners and 1 Hispanic woman who were dispensary owners, over 100 dispensaries around them at the time. So for us to put something like this together, they didn't believe that a person of color was the one who built this and didn't really give us a chance. And so at that point, we had a few dispensaries that worked with us, and we were doing like maybe like 4 deliveries a day, you know, to being connected with great people. Now, fast forward, we're connected with one of the biggest brands in the United States right now called Curaleaf, where we do delivery for all 4 of their dispensaries. Now, Curaleaf has 150 stores and we're $2.5 billion to date now. They gave us a chance. They saw what we're doing. They based it upon the facts and like the codes and what we put out there. And they really partnered with us to where we're doing around 30 to 40 deliveries a day. So
Thank you.
growth has been good.
Actually, so let's follow on. Where do you see the company growth? I mean, are you looking for an acquisition, someone to buy you out? Are you looking to
Of course,
grow?
I think that's the dream. And you learn that too with doing a lot of some of these business cohorts because it's your baby. I built this thing code by code. So I know from the inception, but I know this is gonna make a lot of people's lives better. I'm partnered with a bigger company who has the money to take it even further. I mean, why not? So definitely looking for acquisition. And then as far as uh, growth wise, how we look at it, quite honestly, for me, it's not about how much money we generate. I know the dispensaries look at that. I think it's the people that we reach. So to date, now we have a little over 13,000 people. So we have 13,000 people on the app. Our average shopping cart size is around $250 to $300 per order, and that person is ordering around 2 to 3 times a week. And one thing that our app, our POS, that we capture a lot of data. If you go, a lot of data companies will come to us and say, hey, we want to buy some data to know what you're doing. And we're like, okay, well, show me your data on delivery. Man, that's a blind spot. You don't have it just because it's one of the cheapest licenses. And people are with the brick and mortar store. They really don't look at the smaller things. But you gotta imagine, do the commercials with DoorDash. They're delivering everything now, pet food, everything. And you don't hear any issues with DoorDash or Instacart or what have you when that's like leading the trend. So why not have medicinal products on the line where we have everything from CBD rubs to chewies for CBD chewies for dogs, for tinctures, for cancer patients? Why not? We have the model, we have the people using it already. So we're just looking for it to just go up from here. We really want to dominate the whole East Coast. West Coast has been done. It's over 900 delivery services in the West Coast, and it's super saturated. New markets are emerging now, New York licensing, Maryland, and DC. So they call it the green rush, where everybody's rushing back over here now to get to the green. So when we went there for the gold, they're coming here for the green now. And they're realizing like, whoa, Maryland's doing $1 billion, from since they first started. Your average dispensary in Maryland is pulling 1.2 to $2 million every month, right? And so when you have those numbers coming in, and just I know I'm making it longer your question, you look at how many people who are incarcerated for this and now have that option. Look at the state, look at the state of the US. Maryland has just about 5,000 returning citizens coming home a month, coming out of incarceration a month. The US incarcerates about 5% of the population, 5% of the US population is incarcerated, and we represent 25% of the world. We're the most incarcerated country in the world. We represent 25% and 5% of the US. Those numbers are staggering, you know, and how much more opportunity do we give them? Because they call it invisible bars. Even after they come out of incarceration, they still don't have opportunities or resources to be able to live out their life even after they pay their debt to society. So to be able to focus on something, never in a million years, I was locked up for this, and I have licenses to be able to operate. Never. And sometimes the mindsets of those who've been incarcerated just haven't gone that far because they haven't seen it, right? And we want to give the opportunity for those who've been incarcerated. We're not waiting for you to come back out. We're going in there, you know, to see if this is of interest to you, and then you have an opportunity to build.
We have a comment online. Belen says, this was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question about, so you're talking to us about an app for delivery from a dispensary, but what are other entrepreneurial opportunities in the cannabis industry?
Like I mentioned, NFT art. So like people are making digital art that feature cannabis pictures or what have you that are worth money. Other things too, whether it be marketing is heavy, just analyzing the data is huge. So remember, in every single state has a database that keeps track of a plant from the seed all the way to its growth to when it's sold. Everything is tracked through the system. And so having mechanisms to be able to track that and build something similar is a huge undertaking, but it gives countless opportunities. Let's get into the farming. I mean, there's these little sticks that you could put in the soil to tell you how much pH balance, how much water is in the soil, and then it would automate now onto releasing the water, releasing the fan, and everything like that. And all that in the background is technology that's running that to automate the system to be able to manage and grow a plant without you even setting foot in the state. You can see it on your phone, you can see a video of it, but everything is automated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, so when you go to prisons and jails, what do you talk to them about?
Ooh. For the jails, I think to first start, it's just a mindset, right? Is the mindset is very, very important. I think anybody will tell you as an entrepreneur, it's not a walk in the park, you know, and it's being able to realize your attributes, what you have. Being incarcerated, I mean, you're locked in a cell for however many hours a day. You're not, you know, you're not in tune with what's going on outside those four walls. So it's mostly focusing on your mindset that you do have a purpose. You know, it's finding a meaningful purpose here. So when you come out, you'll be better equipped to handle the trials and tribulations. And then when you get out now, let's find a way how we can help and get back into society. And it necessarily doesn't have to be a business. Everybody's not doesn't have the mindset of entrepreneurship. But then something coming up in the industry that once has you locked up for. I mean, we don't talk too much about cannabis inside. But if it is a topic of discussion, then we go there. But then that is what set boundaries, you know. What we're doing prison ministry, and it gave us the opportunity to go in and touch these young men and women who didn't have a mentor, didn't have somebody to look up to to say that you have a bigger and better purpose. There's many different religions, and we weren't there to talk bad about any religions, but I mean, we had all the kind of people who came in. Buddhists came into the ministry, Islam were there, but we just talked about like our God, what He did for us, and I'm just so fortunate not only to survive 8 gunshots, but then to come in there and show them like the hand of what God did for me. And I know if He did it for me, what more could He do for you? He to think about somebody who loves you so much for like disrespecting them and not even paying attention to them and doing whatever to say, I still love you enough to keep you alive, to be able to do good in this world. And so that's the message, we tell them, but basically getting their mindset ready to come into the world to be able to do great things.
So Georgetown Pivot, is it at the university?
Yeah, so Georgetown University has a program called the Pivot Program,
Okay.
and they work with the jails primarily in DC, and they're just finished recruiting for their October that's coming up, and they'll take about 15 to 20 men, I think women as well too, and run them through a 9-month course on entrepreneurship and give them a stipend. So they're there from 9 to 5 and they actually get paid for being there to learn about business. We have partnered with them and we had some of them intern with us to see how it works or what have you. Of course, when we went there, we got a lot of excitement because we're talking about cannabis, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna jump in here and do it." I'm like, "Slow your roll. I'm gonna give you a computer, and you're gonna learn more about data entry and tech and how the industry works." So awesome program.
How similar is that pivot program at Georgetown to the Amber program in Montgomery County? Did you mention?
Yeah, so we graduated from Amber program. So with Amber program, you have to live in a specific in Montgomery County, and I think they're like you have to have a business for 2 years. And I mean, whether you're incarcerated or not, it didn't matter. They would accept you, and they put you in different networking spaces. Versus pivot programs, like they sought out people who were returning. I think that's one of the qualifications. You had to be incarcerated to be able to get in this program.
The pivot program?
Correct.
Okay. And the Amber program is Montgomery County based and is open to anyone?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's this awesome program. It will connect you with a lot of good people within the county, things that you need to learn about, the business around and the resources. It's been awesome even after we graduated, connecting with some of the lawmakers and people who sit on Rockville to make different things. Because of that, we've been included to join some of the um, some of the committees and what have you. So like for instance, there's a bill, House Bill, there's a House Bill 4-24 that's a reinvestment fund. So Montgomery County has $1 million to reinvest into nonprofit communities for helping people who've been harmed from the war on drugs. So there's $1 million there to help out with that. Also, there's Bill 1037, which is a task force to help those who've been incarcerated access to resources. So what happens is that if I'm a Montgomery County resident and I get locked up in Carroll County, I get let go in Carroll County, and they're just giving me resources there, and I don't know what's going on in Montgomery County for me when I come back now. They really don't pick that up. So it's a way for the different counties to talk to one another and allocate resources, funds, or any type of outreach to those no matter where you're locked up. So basically take all the resources, put it in one space, and find out how to allocate it accessibly.
I interact with inmates because of the work I do at a jail. So is there like a minimum qualification that you look for when you hire people, like GED minimum?
I should, but I don't. I think it's really different when that person's in front of you and they're telling you their skill set, and then you'll find out within the first week, whether they're able to do it or not, because it's one thing to talk, but then to be able to walk it, and it's not like you have to have a degree, but you need, basic math. I look for, like, we do a lot of risk management, so being able to anticipate certain things, so a lot of problem solving skills. I really look for problem solving skills is really huge.
Do you do the training, Colin?
The training,
Mhm.
which kind of training? For cannabis
So
or
all the
for
skills that
incarceration?
you mentioned, yeah.
So there's a couple of cohorts that I work with. There's one called BCB Mastermind. They offer a cohort of training. We're actually getting ready to do one with pretrial services on entrepreneurship. So, the last year of incarceration, they'll be over there. They get to leave and come, and they call them residents.
Yeah.
Talked about being included in trying to start a business. So we're gonna help them out and teach them as well over there. And then also too, we do training in DC. I'm part of the DC Cannabis Business Association. We do training, and then also I'm part of a Maryland called the Maryland Cannabis Equity Collective, and we do training alongside with MCA, which is Maryland Cannabis Association. And this is everything from, we do a lot of regulations, just knowing compliance, what you can and can't do before you even operate, because I think that's super important. Because if you don't know how to operate, how are you going to be able to operate? So we do a lot of that training.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, for again your presentation. And not surprised, we always have amazing questions from the audience. So thank you for your participation. And so thank you. We have a survey, of course, that we'd love for you to fill out. Over the summer, we upgraded our survey, so you might notice that it's a little bit different. So thank you for filling that out. We share that information with our speakers. And we will be back. The hub's already hopping. Tomorrow we have our career coaching service workshop, and this semester we're actually doing it at the new East County Education Center. So the hub is starting to move some services and opportunities over there. So it will be in person over there as well, and of course the career coaching as well. And then we're also partnering with another unit here in workforce development with a technology transfer course. So there's going to be a course that will be held from September 11th to December 12th here at the hub, learning about that great topic as well. And then next week we have our first Future of Tech Lunch and Learn with Festina Manley Spain, who's going to be talking about AI in accounting. So please join us. Follow us on our newsletter. So if you go, we're not quite on social media yet, but if you go to our homepage, if you scroll to the bottom, you can sign up to join our newsletter and to get more information. So again, thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you for everybody who joined us online. Thank you to Colin, and thank you again to Verizon for sponsoring this program. Thank you.